Witch Watch Talk. So this is something I had been wanting to do for a while because I really in the past have talked about where Mission Yosakura Family being like the most underrated series in Jump at the moment. But now that I look at it and look at everything that's been said, I honestly think Witch Watch has taken that title, considering the fact that it has had no announcement for an anime, no physical releases, and it's in its third anniversary.
Yeah, and I'd say, you could make the argument that there are other series like Sakamoto Days that doesn't have an anime or newer series that people aren't reading. But in our case, we're using the definition of like, here's a series that, with a lot of the veteran series like MHA and JJK on their final arcs, and Witch Watch is out here with like 3 years and probably the longest shelf life of the series. I say this as someone who's been like keeping reading everything. Uh, Not many people are talking about it outside of outside of Japan, especially because it's definitely more popular there than it is here. And so we want to just kind of, after 3 years, the third anniversary, the last Sunday, we're just here to talk
Yeah,
about our thoughts on the series and why we think people should read it.
yeah. So yeah, like Partyjams said, it's just past its third anniversary mark. So we thought like, hey, this would be a good time to like just give a general overview on the series, and especially considering like it's just finished its first part of the series, like. But they don't really have a name for that, so I'm just going to give it like the Day of Disaster Saga for the first part because it was leading to that arc that it ended
Yeah,
off on, which
I
was the
think,
Day of
yeah, that's a
Disaster.
pretty good way to describe it. I mean, it's
Yeah,
either that or like do Chainsaw Man's part one versus part two.
yeah, and in all honesty, I said this when we did our Wasted Potential video yesterday, which will be up at some point on Control Chaos. And this is going on Control Chaos. Like after I've done this live stream, this will be going up on it. I honestly I've been enjoying Witch Watch a lot more recently than Chainsaw Man, especially with its second part, because its second part as like okay, it clearly has like a setup for what it wants to do. With the fact that Nico has been turned into a kid and has had all her powers scattered around in the form of butterflies. So it's like, okay, we need to collect all these 1,000 butterflies together to get her back up to full power.
Yeah, and I mean, I have been enjoying the recent Chainsaw Man chapters, but like as a whole, well, I mean, as a whole, I think Chainsaw Man does outrank this a little bit, but I do think Witch Watch does hold a special place for me in my rankings of manga, just because this was like the series that followed up Astro Lost in Space, which was such a big surprise to me when I first discovered it in 2019. I guess, man, it's been a couple years now. And this series kind of like carries that torch because it's made by the same mangaka.
Yeah,
So that's how I initially got into Witch Watch, and it's been a fun ride. And unlike a lot of other series, like I was saying, it's a lot to look forward to. It's not like, oh, okay, once this is done, it's over. I remember at the end of the Day of Disaster arc, or near the end, like everyone's like, oh man, Witch Watch is about to enter its final arc and be done. But no,
oh
this
my,
series can go as long as it really
yeah.
wants to.
The off how you liking Witch Watch? Well, we'll go. Just replying to Blazing Boys. Well, we're going to be talking about it. That's why we're here. That's why we're here, Blazing Boy. But my overall thoughts on liking Witch Watch is that it's honestly in my top three at the moment. Behind it alternates tremendously between like Mission Yozakura and Witch Watch, depending on what you like week to week. And then Akane is like the other one in that top three at the moment. But there's just been some chapters that I feel like have outranked Mission Yozakura Family for me in terms of chapter of the week for Witch Watch. But yeah, going back to what you were saying about, I hate it when people are saying that right now at this point. Like we've gotten to like the end point, like what the series was building up to. It's like, okay, so the series is going to end that. It's like, no, because the author has not like announced the final. Honestly, I feel like they're there will be like 3 parts to not Mission Yosakura, 3 parts to Witch Watch. So like after Nico gets her powers back, there'll be like a final part to Witch Watch, which it is like the final war between the witches and the warlocks.
Yeah, I think that's fair because they've been building that up also in the back for a while, like the warlocks, and we still have like that plant. I forgot his name. The plant warlock to deal with. He's still like the major antagonist of the series.
Because they've got to revive. Hiya Ben. So to just let you know, Pyjams, Ben is someone I met in another server, and we're going through. Well, what he's one of the people I'm watching Dr. Stone with that I mentioned. Yes, that I mentioned in the last video. Yeah, and said that he's really enjoying it. So yeah, what you've missed, Ben, is just giving our general overview of where the series Witch Watch is at the moment, which is the series you can see on screen at the moment. And talking about where we think it's actually gonna go. But yeah, going back to what you said, Pychance, because they've got to revive, because the whole plan of the Warlocks is to revive that witch, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah, Jura. Yeah,
Jura. Yeah. So I feel like that will that could be like once Jura gets revived, I feel like that will be like, okay, we are starting to get into the end game stuff of Witch Watch.
Yeah, which I was kind of thinking about, but before I go into that, I want to say, yeah, Blazing Boy, I'm at least glad you gave Astra a chance. I would say if you tried the manga and it was just too much reading for you, you could always try the anime adaptation. Maybe that'll work better because I think they're both actually like really solid ways of going about the story. But if it just wasn't for you, I at least appreciate you gave it a chance because I think like even with Witch Watch, it's honestly not going to be for everybody. I don't for Luke, it's like in his top 3. I read a lot more manga in general, so it doesn't rank as high if I ranked it among all my manga, but I'd say top 5 within the weekly Shonen Jump magazine. It runs in behind like maybe like a handful of series I just personally like more, and even that'll shift a little bit week to week. But Witch Watch is fairly consistent.
I feel like. Go ahead, carry on.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say. And then also, yes, Dr. Stone is indeed peak.
Yeah, Dr. Stone is indeed peak. But yeah, what you just said then is why Witch Watch is in my top 3 is just for the consistency about it. There's even okay, so Ben, just to give you an idea of what Witch Watch is like, if you've ever heard of Gintama, it's by one of the guys who was the assistant to the author of Gintama. So it's like week to week, you have no idea what you're going to get unless it's like in like when it says like, say, the Wolf and the Cat part 1 and then Wolf and the Cat part 2, like you know what you're going to get from week to week, but for the most part it's a very episodic series where you don't know what you're going to get from week to week, and it can just be like the most wackiest thing ever. There is literally, and I'm not even kidding here, I have to bring this up now, there is literally 2 chapters where they talk about the awesomeness that is jeans. Yes, jeans. They make a chapter about jeans so like 90% interesting, and I'm just there like, how did he do that? They're jeans.
Yeah, it really is just whatever the mangaka is just like hyper fixated on for that week. We had like a chapter about Minecraft one time, and then I think he had one where the characters try to start a YouTube channel. And the funny thing is, a lot of these subplots, as random as they are, they kind of like feed into the overall world. Like one of the biggest subplots is like a fan series that 2 of the side characters are working on, and it's like one of my favorites personally.
Oh my god, yeah.
Even though like those are probably the worst for the translators because those side characters talk way too much.
Oh my god, yes. One thing we've got to bring up is just the fact, like, you were talking yesterday about Cypher Academy and just the translator having to get to have a break. Well, now we have to feel sorry again for the translator of Witch Watch, because some of the translations in this series are just insane. Like, we're talking Hunter x Hunter levels of insane.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's no exaggeration, really.
no.
Uh,
But yeah,
I did.
go
I did kind of
carry on.
want to talk about the end game, or did you want to like say that near the end of the stream? I'm kind of
Uh,
debating that.
save what for the end of the stream?
Oh, sorry, did I cut off a bit?
No,
Yeah,
no.
I was
Yeah, yeah.
asking because we were talking like about the how the story might like conclude, but I'm not sure if we should save that for the
Yeah,
end.
we should save that for the end. I think we should just talk about really to start off like what do you think is well I think we've probably already gave our thoughts on it, but what's your overall opinion on like why you think it's so underrated? Because of the fact, like I said, it's not got physical releases, even though it sells pretty decently for what we've got from it's probably what out of all like the series that are under like say 200 chapters, it's probably the one that like consistently does well within the sales whenever a volume comes out. So I don't know why. And Gintama, it's not like Gintama is an unknown series in of itself. Or did I don't know? Did Asta Lost in Space sell well when Fish translated it?
So I don't remember if Astra. I think Astra got physical copies, but I'm not sure.
It did.
I didn't really.
It did. It did.
Oh, maybe it
So
didn't for them. That could be one possible reason. But in terms of sales, like for those who don't follow sales numbers like we do, like basically there's like the upper echelon of like the big manga, like JJK, Blue Box. Well, Black Clover's no longer in the main magazine, and My Hero Academia that sell like over 100,000 like copies per month or so. And then there's kind of like a middle tier of manga, like Undead Unluck, which is a little surprising considering the anime just came out. I was expecting more of a boost. Elusive Samurai and Witch Watch here. And what's interesting with Witch Watch's placement in there is most of the series that I just like listed just now are all action and battle series, which sell, of course, very well in the magazine. But gag manga like Roboco and High School Family is no longer there. I don't really have another gag because they just ended that. But like most of the gag manga that have passed in Jump, they usually are very short lasting and or just don't sell like the best. So but Jump always has like one or two like gag series that kind of like go with this with the magazine. And Witch Watch is probably, if you classify it as gag, even though there's some battle elements, but I think it is predominantly gag. It probably their best selling in the magazine, so I think that's why it has like a strong place. It gets so much color pages, which are like really, really good. I think Witch Watch has arguably the best volume covers, maybe next to Sakamoto Days. And so I think that's why it does so well in sales, but why I think it doesn't do, or why it doesn't get physicals over here are like twofold. One, I think Shinohara is a lot like Inagaki, where they will write like really good series that like will perform well in the magazine, but not as well as a lot of their competitors. Though I would argue that like one big difference is, well, no, actually, no, this does work because both of them like will write series that aren't quite the battle shonen formula, but rather something like sports or gag, like Dr. Stone, I guess, was science. I don't know how you would throw that in, but these series that will be like very different than everything else. So it won't sell as well, but enough for like a more niche series. But they don't sell predominantly well, I guess. Like Shinohara's work predominantly doesn't sell as well in outside of Japan because the comedy style is a lot more Japanese, I think, oriented. Like there was one chapter, for example, I think a lot of Western readers didn't like that was basically based on like learning English as like a second language. Like it focused on how English is taught in Japan. And like for people who have English as the first language, we won't really understand that. Except I didn't have English as my first language. So even though I didn't learn it, in Japan, I did kind of appreciate a lot of the jokes and what they were talking about there. So I think it's just because a lot of the comedy and styles is very tailored towards the Japanese audience, like Elusive Samurai, that I don't think it would serve as well, even if it is a well-written series. I think JJK had a recent thing where one of its like main antagonists like lost a fight, but that fight was not even like through a main character. It was actually through a gag character. And the whole fight was just like a gag shonen battle. And I really enjoyed it, but a lot of people didn't because it was focused on manzai style comedy, which for those who don't know, it's just like a two-man style comedy that is very popular in Japan. So I think Witch Watch and Shinohara just isn't going to be as popular over here, just because it's not something that Western readers are really looking for, nor is it really tailored towards them.
Yeah, which
Unlike,
is
say, something like Kagurabachi, which is a lot more like dark and gritty and action oriented. Go ahead.
yeah, which is sad because of the fact that because it's not getting the volumes over here, and a lot of people say like, oh, we don't want to keep buying the volumes, or we just want it in one easy to access window. Well, it's there in an easy to access window when you don't access it, or at the very least don't talk about it, and there are still people over here who, myself included, would buy the volumes. I'd definitely buy the volumes of Witch Watch if they came over here. But also, as well, I just wanted to mention a comment that for Boyle said, not the one about you sounding similar to OG.
Yeah, I kind of hear it though. I know
Yeah,
what you mean.
I can kind of hear it at times as well. But it's interesting you bring that up about Akane for Boyle, because over here the Viz have released the Akane volume, so I don't think it's necessarily to do with Akane being heavily Japan. I feel like because Akane is, even though it's focused on Rakugo, which is Japanese art, it's still like a performance-based series. So I feel like a lot of people who are like into the acting side of things will get a kick out of like, hey, there's something here that's focused around performing arts niche that it might actually sell well there, and it seems to have done because Vids have brought over the volumes here for
Yeah,
Akane. So
and that
I
is a
feel like
good point because
uh,
yeah, I
yeah,
was
I
just
was
gonna
just
say like Akane would be a series that I wouldn't have thought it would do well, but it's doing well enough that it does get physicals. So,
yeah.
and I think maybe it's because it's more story oriented. That is
Yeah,
another possibility.
yeah, that could be another possibility as well. But yeah, I feel like you kind of hit the nail on the head there. That it's probably because it's a gag series, and maybe it might be harder to sell a gag series, whereas like something like say uh, a One Piece or a JJK would or Kokorobachi would be able to sell much better than Witch Watch. Which again, it's just sad that that's the case, because and this will lead into one of reasons why I do generally love the series, is that this is probably at the moment, with the only exception being Yozakura family, my favorite like main cast of characters. Like, there's not, out of all the main cast, and yes, I am including Best Girl Nemu in this because she is included as part of the main cast. I don't care what anyone says, even though she's not in the house, she's still a main character. Sorry, I wanted to get that off my chest. But yeah, there's not a single main character in this series that I'm just like, I don't care about this character. I don't care. I generally do enjoy all the interactions of all the main characters.
And no, Blizzard Boy, we are definitely reading all the comments.
Yeah, we are ignoring all the no, we're not ignoring. We're reading we're reading all the comments. But yeah, that we so it's unpredictable because it has no story at all. JK. No. It do no. Witch Watch does have a story. Like,
okay, no, he's saying JK because it's a joke, Luke.
oh, okay, okay, fair enough. But yeah, I screw you, Nemu. No, Nemu is Best Girl. You don't even read the series, Blazing Boy, so you can't understand why. There's a reason Nemu. I think Nemu beat out the Nico, the main character, in the top 10 poll. There's a reason for that.
I also want to throw out like one other thing in terms of like publishing, but this is more to do with Viz specifically. So for those who are paying attention to Viz's recent announcements, for like what series, and that's part of what prompted this discussion, because a lot of Witch Watch fans are still like, we're holding out. It's like, okay, it's the third anniversary, maybe we finally go from digital to physical, which didn't happen. But one thing we did find out is that two other Jump series, New Exorcist and Kill Blue, both of them also got released, but not physically, digital exclusive. And I wonder if that for Viz, there's like a new strategy where they're just planning on like having these weekly series just start out digitally. I don't know like what the reasoning is. Maybe it's because they didn't like have like amazing like crazy sales, but I don't think that Akane's was necessarily like it sold well, but I don't think it was like significantly different than what like New has been doing, which it's been selling like on par with even like Undead Unluck within the first few volumes. And Kill Blue, I think, is doing even better, if I remember.
Yeah,
So I think,
I'm just gonna say Kill Bill has been doing extremely well for
yeah, I
a
think
new
it might be
series.
on the par with Akane even. So I don't understand exactly what the reasoning is, but I think the part of why we may not have Witch Watch through Viz is because they just aren't focused on like getting these like Jump series into physical at the moment. Maybe that'll change once anime adaptations come out. That's my best guess, but the fact that New Exorcist is like still like outselling, or selling super well within just a few volumes, and Kill Blue has been doing just as well as Akane but not getting any physicals, I think it might not even be just a Witch Watch or Shinohara problem anymore. It might just be a new strategy by Viz that they're just seeing higher sales digitally, which if you look at game sales, like it's predominantly more digital nowadays than it used to be. So maybe it's just the same with manga. Maybe they've just been seeing more digital sales and it's not worth investing in the physicals at the moment.
Maybe that could be the case, but also I feel like to go off on that for a moment is that it might be a case of like they're actually worried about like will they sell as well as something like JJ, because JJK MHA I feel like I said, it's only got like about 10 chapters left at max for that series, and then once that ends it's like they're probably going to be like, well, is this series going to perform as well as a MHA or a JJK? But at the same time, with that, it's like you've got a series like Mission Yosako Family who does fairly well, but not to the same level as Witch Watch, because I think Witch Watch outsells it in Japan. So
Yeah, but only by like a slight margin.
yeah, but I feel like if Mission Yosako could come over here and because that's very battle oriented and very action based, so if Witch Watch can be like on that level, I don't understand why it can't get a physical release. But I feel like you make a good point there. Like they're probably seeing more from digital sales than they are from volume sales,
Yeah,
from physical
and
volume sales.
and if you're a collector, that's not like a good sign, because it really is only like the really big series like Demon Slayer and JoJo's and One Piece. And I'm using those examples specifically
Yeah.
because that's what we saw, spin-offs of those series getting physical releases. And if they're only going to really focus on the popular series from now, like the exceptionally popular series, then there's not much we can do about
Yeah,
that.
there really isn't.
Other
But
than like what I've seen some people do in other servers, which is just straight up buy the physicals from Japan and get it shipped. Like people are just going on Amazon and just buying the physicals
yeah,
from
yeah.
there.
But even then, with like the extremely popular ones, like they're all going to be ending in like the next 5 years, like One Piece, Black Clover, JJK, My Hero.
Yeah, but I think the answer is just to sell off the spin-off series, because like My Hero, I can see it getting somehow even more random spin-off series than it already has. I don't really see it with JJK, but I could see Gege being pressured into writing some spin-offs for it once it's over, just to like give Shueisha more money.
Yeah. Fizz got to see how much free space I've got on my bookshelf so that they release some volumes and fast. Oh my god, yeah. I am running out. I can understand that as well because I'm running out of space. Like I've literally had to make space for the Doctor Stone figurines, and then I'm like, oh crap, I'm buying the volumes of 100 Girlfriends, and that's going to fill up really, really quickly. It's like, what are we gonna do? So I get your point, Blazing Boy there. But it just would be nice to have them as physical copies. But you mentioned about how I'm just gonna cycle back to what we were saying about the about Undead Unluck and that not having boosted sales despite the anime. Well, that wasn't even the case for Doctor Stone as well.
I think there was a slight boost, but
Slight
I don't
boost,
remember.
but
Maybe you remember better. But I
yeah,
do. But you are right. It didn't like explode as much as like other series like JJK did for sure.
but I
I
feel
think.
like
I
oh,
mean,
go
not
ahead.
to like insult TMS, but I think it's just like you know, with JJK, it's being done by like Mappa, and then Undead Unluck's doing by David Productions, and they did like, of course, the quality work with them. And not to say TMS didn't do a good job with the Doctor Stone adaptation. I think they were a good choice for that because they put a lot of work if you've
Yeah,
seen the
yeah,
behind the
they did.
scenes episodes, but they're not the kind of like flashy animation that really captures
Yeah,
people. So
yeah. I
I
feel
wasn't expecting a huge boost in sales for that.
yeah, yeah. TMS as a studio is one of those that, while not as flashy, I would say is one of the more consistently good animation studios.
I would agree with that. And actually, now that we're saying it, they are working on Undead Unluck too. So, you know,
Are they
I think
TMS?
I want to say they are. Hang on. I'm going to just
Yeah,
Google it real quick.
yeah. And
Because
I'm
I think it's David and them. Hang on. Let me just.
okay, okay. So yeah. Oh, get my train of thought back into it, Luke. Get my train of thought. Uh, so yeah. I've totally lost.
Yeah, on Wikipedia, at least, you know, as reliable a source as that can be. It's saying, yeah, David Productions animation and TMS is working on the production and planning. So yeah, they're not animating it, but they're involved, and you can tell like
Yeah.
it's a quality
Oh,
series because
no,
they're involved in the
well,
planning.
Blazing Boy. This is the same. This is the same guy who basically ignored Mission Yosakura Family because he didn't want because he was too stubborn to admit that he was wrong about it actually being a good series. So I don't believe about that guy. And a lot of people got angry at him because he called Haikyuu something like good boys doing something or other. Like people were getting mad about him saying that. So I can't remember what it actually was. So yeah, I don't tend to listen to that guy when he uh, talking about his opinion because he gets a lot of information wrong, and he has said that he gets a bit of information wrong himself. So take it with a grain of salt with him. But yeah, back to Witch Watch. So yeah, the main cast I generally do enjoy. I like how they have all different personalities as well. It's like you've got Mori, the main character, who's like the stoic like father guy who's like, I have to. Yeah, he says he's Nico's familiar, but honestly, he acts more like her parent half the time in the series. If you really notice that. And now he is technically her parent because he's a kid now.
Yeah, it all comes full circle.
Yeah, and Nico just has so much life and energy in her. Oh my god, Keigo and Nemu is like the most perfect ship ever for a series. Like get the guy who basically has Grimjow from Bleach in his body, but make him like the most awkward person ever, and pair him up with like the most socially awkward person who could turn into what's the name of the cat from Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
Oh man, I do know that, but uh okay, I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
I think it starts with an S.
Yeah, it's something starts with an
Salem.
S.
Salem.
Salem, yeah, it's like make her like say a Salem, Luna, Artemis type character as well, and then you have Con, who is just like the boy who just wants to try his best at whatever he does, even though he at times it can be a little bit too much for him. And then you have Miu. I can never pronounce
Miharu.
Miharu, who is one character who I was not expected to like as much as I did, but I do generally like him and how he's like, because he was isolated for most of his life, and it's only being with the group that he's actually be able to come out and shout and actually make genuine friends, like with Jekyll and Fran.
Yeah, I'm glad they also like really dedicate a lot of time to each of those character subplots, like Keigo getting into like a new interest, and also his like general like programming skills and developing games, and then Khan like his job hopping shenanigans, while Miharu's out in middle school making new friends. And of course Moe and Nico of course are like the main characters, so they don't need much of a subplot to them. But
No.
even I guess there's some training and like Moe's like weird hobbies like the jeans.
Oh,
Always brought up.
yeah, like I don't know. Again, I don't know how they did that, but like kudos to the author for making something as like mundane as jeans seem like the most interesting thing in the world.
I think that's also a nice thing about Witch Watch, is it does like show us like all the ordinary things in life that are just like actually a lot more fun.
Yeah. Just gonna read this comment. No, I don't care. You cannot get me on Witch Watch or 100 credit threads. You won't get me. One day I will, Blazing Boy. It'll come for you. Just like how. Okay. I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but it's funny. Just how like Bluey came for me now.
Oh, you got on the Bluey train?
Yeah, I've gone on the Bluey train. I'm binging the series. So Witch Watch and 100 Girlfriends, they will come for you, Blazing Boy. But yeah, like I said, it's not just with the main cast that really gets to shine in the series. This is what I feel like when we were talking about the waste potential of Mission Core family and how it tends to like overshadow its side characters. Witch Watch I feel like does that extremely well, because you'll have like dedicated like mini arcs for the side characters in the series, and there's just as many side characters in Witch Watch as there are in Mission Yosakura Family, but it really does take, because of the fact that it is episodic, it can switch back and forth between them and just be like, okay, who do I want to focus on this week? The Student Council. Who do I want to focus on this week? The Manga duo. Which I've got to say, out of all the side characters, I feel like they make the most interesting pairing in the series.
Yeah. And this is something Shinohara does pretty well, like even in his other series like Skeet Dance, and which I still have to like really get into, as well as Astro Lost in Space. Like he does a good job like making every character like feel like they matter, and so you end up caring about the cast as a whole, which is something I think a lot of other manga, even like really good ones, struggle with.
Yeah.
Because it's hard when you have like such an expansive cast, and to like deal with all of them. And I guess to be fair, I think we care about like a lot more of the characters than maybe some other fans do, because like I've seen people who really did not like the student council, for example, but I find their personality quirks hilarious. I think partially because student councils, like this is a whole meme. I think ProZD did a good one. Where the student councils in like any other anime series are like the most terrifying, powerful force in existence. But here they're just like even more incompetent than like most like people their age.
Yes. And also as well, this plays to the strength of the series as well. It's like, because Witch Watch does break the fourth wall quite a bit in the series, where or at least makes the references to other Shonen Jump series where they because on the chapter now when the Shonen Council gets officially introduced, chapter 38, where you have them saying to the what's it where you have like the Rose holding I think she's the VP, if I remember correctly, and they're just like the Student Council vice president, and they're just like, she's like, I'm so sorry if I seem threatening, my sweet little kittens. And then Mori's just there, is it me or is her character type really cliche? Like they don't hide the fact that the Student Council is just like an embodiment of like the most cliche. cliche things, like to the point where the student council president is literally a joke. Is literally is that a motherfucking JoJo's reference?
Yep, it's just Jotaro holding his hat. Guy's
Yeah,
just holding it out the whole
yeah.
time.
And then
And
you
it's
have
funny because, like, at first you think that character is just going to be a reoccurring gag, and he is. But then he gets, like, a sibling. I think it's a sibling. And we
yeah.
get to learn more about his family and their traditional values. And it's like, oh, now he's like a fully realized character.
That always is constantly chasing Mori to be like, join the student council president, which he can't do right now because he's got a little kid to look after. I'm waiting for that chapter where they come back and Nico's a kid and he's just there trying to be like, Mori, join the student council. I'm like, I can't right now. I've got a kid to look after.
And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah, he's gonna be like, what the hell happened to her? But yeah, you also have the guy, Yuzuru Kemochi, who's the polite Kansai accent character with closed eyes, and I'm just there thinking they could have so easily done a reference to like Gin from Bleach or Karicho from Mission Yosako family, thinking like, is this guy gonna try to kill us? just like in Bleach and Yosakura.
Yeah, and it's funny because he comes off as super threatening, and he's kind of self-aware of it, but he's like just like a cool guy in general. We saw that in like one of the recent chapters. But speaking of, we should probably like actually go into like characters and gags that we really enjoy.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I feel like I'll just get my favorite out of the way. Nemu. I've loved Nemu's character development throughout the series. Like starting off as like the most shy, a person who I would say like she wasn't full of herself at the beginning of the series, but she did see herself
have some
as like
pride, yeah.
Have some pride, and then actually meeting the cast and realizing that maybe maybe I'm not as like skilled as I really think I am. Like, cause she does eventually, it's eventually revealed that she is like one of the most shy, awkward persons to the point that she can't even be in the same room as them without being in a cat form.
Yep.
And then it's only through many of her interactions with Keigo / Wolf, which I love. I love the fact that they did that, like make a love triangle, but it's basically like if Fuka was in love with Andy and Victor from Undead Unluck.
Yeah, and I also think that sorry, I think that Nemu has like the most like potential for more at this point in the series, because for a lot of other characters they're like more or less straightforward. Like we know about Khan's like backstory with his family and like how he came to be Nico's bodyguard, and then Miharu, of course, he kind of came out of nowhere, but we learned about like what his whole situation was. And like all the characters, and then Keigo, of course, like he had a whole arc dedicated to him like near the very beginning. But like Nemo has like the most still like things to dig up, and I think that's one of the reasons you also really like her, because you want to get into like her family, how it connects to witch society as a whole, because there is a lot they've been foreshadowing for a while.
Yeah, because I'm on chapter 59 now. It's crazy to think that this has been nearly 100 chapters, and since this has been like being built up with Nemu not knowing if she should reveal the powers to everyone, which she eventually does in in the most recent chapter, where she feels like I'm a shapeshifter, which thank God they finally got that on the open, because it does seem like the author like sowing the seeds of like, oh, you want that Nemu arc, you want that Nemu arc. But yeah, chapter 59, where we have her mother saying it's absolutely unnecessary for anyone to understand you, only the weak-willed seek validation like that. But it's not weak-willed for someone like Nemu, because she's so, I feel like her whole growing up, like she was so isolated from her mother, being like, it's only family you can trust. You can't trust anyone else out of there, especially your school friends. I don't know why her mother has that mindset about her. but it has certainly like impacted her growing up to the point like she was scared of what people would actually think of her because of her powers.
Yeah, and it's part of the reason she still kept things hidden, even in the most recent chapters. Like Keigo is the only one who knows and has decided to keep it secret, even though Nemu seems more ready to
Well, no.
reveal it.
Well, no. Did you read the last
Oh, right,
chapter?
right.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
revealed it to everyone except Nico, right?
Yeah, to Nico because it's like they needed someone to be a reindeer. As soon as they were like, we need a reindeer here, I was like, get Nemu, get Nemu, get Nemu, and then I was like, yes. I was just throughout that was
I honestly thought like when she rejected Keigo's offer that it wasn't going to happen.
But no, she actually did. I was like, no, but no, she's gonna do it. Yes, she's gonna do it. But I feel like this might actually be leading to like the Nemu centric arc where
I mean, you predict that every single time.
I am gonna keep predicting that until it happens, but it does seem because they're not gonna. One thing I will give Witch Watch credit for is that if they've built up something and foreshadowed something, they're gonna go through with it. Most of the time, and I feel like because Nemu is a main cast member, they have to have that arc centered around her, like find out what they know, what her mother's all about, and why she is the way she is, and maybe at this point she could be like, no, I am. I don't care what you think, mother. I've got friends here who accept me for who I am, and maybe that might lead to her actually getting into the house because I feel like the house she's in at the moment belongs to her mother, and if her mother found out what she did, she'd be like, right, you're out of this house.
Yeah, we don't really know where we haven't visited her place at all. I think about it.
No, we have seen her. We have seen her house before, like her house.
Oh, like when she was sitting in her room, I guess.
Yeah, when she's in her room. But I would say like
we haven't visited her house. I mean,
no, we haven't visited her house.
That's what I meant by her living situation, I guess. Because is her mom with her? Because the thing is, in which like one thing I guess I'll say for a weakness I feel like in Witch Watch's writing is that in this society, like it's not that magic is completely unknown. It's like Nico has only barely tried to hide her abilities in the beginning, but for the most part, like everyone at school now knows that she has magic. And it seems society is familiar with the concept of witches. And yet, despite that, there really hasn't been like too many other like magical incidents caused by other witches or many rules or laws, which I always found a little weird because I thought there'd be a little bit more to that aspect when I was first starting the series. But yeah, I will say, like in that regard, I'm not sure if the reason for that is because powerful witches like Nico's mom and Nemu's mom, I'd assume, are like living in like witch only societies, and for that reason they don't need those laws. It's only like when they're children and still like learning their magic that they're mixing in with regular human society. But that's a whole other theory.
I feel like that is a legitimate theory. Like there's two societies that do coexist, but they don't really come into interact with each other fairly often. But if they do, I feel like people are just like, oh, okay, it's kind of the thing of our world, so we're going to accept it. But I will agree that there really should be more witch centric societies. But I guess we've kind of counterbalanced that with the warlocks as well.
Yeah, I guess it's a mix of like magic has been said to be weaker in the current era compared to like old eras, which until like our generation, their generation came about. So it could just be that witches just aren't as powerful as they once were, so they don't have to really worry about that. And Nico's just like a huge exception to the rule because like Nemu can just turn into like a cat in the beginning.
Yeah,
like that's not a huge threat to society.
Yeah, but now that she's pretty much said that, I am starting to get a grasp on my powers to the point that all I need is just a picture to visualize what I can turn into. So that might actually come to play where she might. I could actually see that where when Nemu's just practicing, she turns into her say a rat at some point, and then one of her school friends see her and start bullying her for it, like, oh, keep away from that girl, she's a rat, she's gonna like just spread rumors about her viciously, and maybe that will bring her mother in and say like, this is why you should have never revealed your powers, we've got to get you out of here.
I could see that,
Yeah,
honestly. And
because I
I
feel like
mean, that's one way to feed into a Nemu arc, right?
yeah, because I feel like Nemu would be the one most susceptible to being bullied out of all the cast.
Very possible. She goes to an all-girl private school, and
Yeah,
that's not an environment you would expect like the most
no,
understanding
no,
people.
no,
But
because
yeah,
yeah, because um, yeah, so because I know this is very stereotypical for a lot of series, because having all one gender under one roof can lead to like some pretty awful things being said about one or the other.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
just kind of how it is.
yeah,
But I guess since we were talking about Nemu for a little while, I'll just go and with some of my own thoughts on characters, because like I think my I mean I really like the central cast. I think of the central cast, who I really like is like Keigo. I He had like another like really strong arc to him, and I enjoy how he's like grown as well. And his like special interests and stuff, his insecurities. Like I think they all make him like a very relatable person, because I feel like comparatively, like Miharu is like a very fun personality where he has like kind of like a very dark sense of humor and is slightly manipulative because he's used to getting his own way. And like Khan being kind of more of a goofball. I think that those characters, they're fun, but they're also a little bit more like characters in a story, while Keigo, I think, felt a little bit more like realistic. So I did like that from him in the main cast. But outside the main cast, I'd say a character I really enjoy and kind of wanted more from, but I understand why we don't, is Momochi, because like it was nice to have like, oh, we finally have like an adult figure in this dynamic. And I thought that when she first showed up, I mean, besides the fact that she's a very attractive woman, she I thought would bring us like more information about like witch society and like growing up as a witch and adulthood and like things along that line. I was looking forward to those stories, because like as much as I enjoy Witch Watch, it is still like another series that focuses on like high schoolers and slice of life and coming of age, and which is extremely common within the manga world. Like they had a whole school festival arc and all that, just like everything else in the school. But I thought Momochi would help us like have some more adult topics. But the closest we got is when she enlisted like Khan into like one of the jobs she's working at, and that was kind of fun. But other than that, she kind of just shows up whenever they just need like a babysitter for Nico, or they need to use her
yeah,
teleportation abilities. And I don't know, I always thought that was a little bit of a waste of what they could do with this character. But I also understand she's not like a primary focus. And, there's a reason Shonen Jump focuses on children, because demographically, it's meant for kids. And it's a series that wants to show like kids overcoming struggles and hurdles of their everyday lives. And if an adult comes and solves all their problems, it kind of takes away from that. Having
yeah,
said that, I still would like more Momochi.
yeah, and I would like that. I would like that as well. For basically the same reasons that you said, but I feel like this is the reason why Witch Watch can't end anytime soon. We haven't had a time skip yet. Um, I know that's a like kind of a running theme now. Like, oh, the time skips happen, so when is the series gonna end? But yeah, Witch Watch won't be ending anytime soon because it has that time skip. But I feel like when we get a time skip, if we get a time skip, it might be focusing on when the characters graduate from high school. I'm like, okay, they're now adults. What are we go? How are we gonna expand on the concept of like them being adults and going through the adult problems in the world, which would be very interesting to explore if we ever get to that point. But yeah, um, Which Watch won't get an anime? JK, I like triggering Luke. And I'm going to trigger you right now for Boyle. We're not getting the dwarf arc in Black Clover. I'm sorry to say.
Ah, man, we really aren't. That upsets me too. So good
Yeah.
job triggering me as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I love Charmy. I do love Charmy. I'm upset about that as well. So I'm in the same boat as you guys.
I've been enjoying the Black Clover gotcha though. That's been pretty
Yeah.
fun. Because I dropped the Dr. Stone one because it wasn't as fun, even though I enjoy Dr. Stone. They did not design it super well. I'll be
No.
honest.
Maybe
I gave them some money, so hopefully we have more Dr. Stone games later.
Maybe because we were like, oh, you think Chelsea's going to be a traitor? Yeah, well, gotcha. But
and you know what? One of these days, one of my traitor theories will be true. Maybe it'll be Kai from Yozakura. Maybe it will be, I don't know. Maybe there's a traitor in Witch Watch that we don't know.
Well, hey, we have had a traitor in Witch Watch, Komogi, which I think was handled so much better than the Trey reveal in My Hero Academia. I'm just going to say that right now because Komogi wasn't really focused on for most of the series. She showed up twice, and I feel like what made it such a shock is the fact that it wasn't something so built up throughout the series, because we had that moment in My Hero of like, there is a traitor amongst us, but we don't find out about that until hundreds and hundreds of chapters later. And then when it comes down to like, oh crap, I need to figure out who the traitor is. Ayama. Why Ayama? I don't know. Just Ayama. But with Komogi, I feel like it was handled so much better because because of the fact that it just came so much more naturally. Like we knew that there were female warlocks in the series because we had one of the first opponents to be up with against was a female warlock, so we knew that was coming. But the fact that they made Komogi, who was in her chapters that she was focused on, like she was very unassuming, very shy, quiet, and then it's like, we should have seen that coming with her, like, because it's usually like the most shy distance person usually is gonna have something big happen to them. So we really should have seen that coming. But the fact that it came from someone who Nico generally thought was a friend, that's what makes it such a shock for the series.
Yeah, and I would say, to go further, part of the reason it worked, because like you said, when we got to the trader arc in MHA, or even like most traders, it's like by the time we needed to figure it out, like in JJK, for example, that also had a trader arc, because like trader arcs are just like a thing in manga. So you have to try to make your predictions as early as possible. But in JJK with Mekamaru, they kind of had it like right after like an almost like a, I don't want to say filler, even though it kind of was kind of fillery, but like kind of like a small like slice of life kind of thing. And you weren't really thinking about a trader, even though they brought it up like much earlier that trader exists. So I think it was slightly disguised in there where it's like, oh, okay, who's the trader? But if you think about it, they had enough hints you could kind of piece it together. But Mekamaru, I think the reason, even though I really like Mekamaru as a character, I think he's a very underrated character in JJK, frankly. I think the reason I liked it in Witch Watch a bit more, even though I liked Mekamaru's arc, is that the way they did it in Witch Watch is besides including like a character, which we didn't really know too much about in a similar fashion, it was also during a subplot, like not even really a subplot, almost like a main plot of the series where they focused on the romance between the two main leads, which has been a thing since the very beginning, obviously. And we've been building up their confession for like so many chapters, and we're all anticipating that. Even people who don't usually like Witch Watch, who are just there for that aspect, were like really happy to look forward to it. So we were all so fixated on the confession happening that we didn't really even think about the warlock aspect of things, because we were just focused on the confession finally happening. But then, so the traitor reveal and twist happening as it did kind of like mess with our expectations exceptionally, rather than just kind of like sneaking in. It's like, okay, right. Here's the traitor. you guys didn't see that coming. It's like, yeah, you're right, I didn't, but it didn't hit as much as it did in Witch Watch.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, primarily because like Nico generally viewed Komogi as like a friend that she thought she could trust, and it's like now I feel like when Nico gets her powers back, I think that and because Komogi will come back, I don't doubt she'll come back, but I feel like there's going to be like a bit of tension moving forward with them and with everyone of just being like, what are you planning? What are you planning?
Yeah, and I sorry, trying to address Blazing Boys thing because I don't think you read P6.
No, I
Yeah,
didn't read
I
P6.
was actually pretty shocked with P6's acts because, like you said, it was like 77 chapters in. Normally, after a year, like with only a few exceptions, you're not usually worried about an axe. I think the only time, like the series that I think ended like at a year or around a year, were like Cop and Dolphin as well as a Gravity Boys. Those are also series I pretty much enjoyed, but they I think were more like one was a gag series, so it could end anytime it wanted, and the other I felt like was building up to the end of the series. But P6, it felt like we just hit like a huge twist and a narrative turning point with Lucky's mom just dying, and his entire goal in like life has just been taken away from him. So he has to like reorient himself. He has to figure out what he wants to do now. His family is dealing with the trauma and figuring out what they're going to do with their lives. So I always thought it was just going to, because we still had some more siblings to meet and like encounter and the father to confront. So the fact that it ended just like 2-3 chapters later, I'm just like, okay, well, now that's shocking. But at the same time, I will also say that P6, the way it ended, as an unceremonious as it was so emotionally like built because of like the authors, I think, being upset that his series was cut short like this, that it made the ending extremely memorable and impactful because of it. So it's one of the better axe endings for that alone. And plus he's back now in Jump Plus and doing like a really great magical girl series. So, we're all good.
Yeah,
So apparently Akane turns 2 years old. Huh. It's already been 2
yeah,
years.
yeah, because that does make sense because what was the last chapter of Akane? Let me
Oh yeah, the dad's back.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
He's back
I've
and we're
not.
going to perform, and she's probably going to get promoted pretty soon. So yeah, that's perfect for the Zenza arc coming at the end of the 2 year.
So yeah, chapter
Or
96.
TM.
Yeah. That makes sense. That it is 2 years old because normally it's like you get like on average 48 chapters a year for Jump because they have their breaks. So yeah, chapter 96. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean Chainsaw Man was about that long. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think Akane hitting the 2 year is good, especially because that's another series that has like I mean, I think the arc before what we're having now, it kind of was a little stale for me because they cut short a big tournament that they were building up to, and then there was just kind of like introducing a bunch of new characters for the upcoming stuff. So that was kind of stale. But the recent chapters and like the backstory they've been building on, like why the expulsion happened and the history between some of the elder Rakugoka, yeah, there's a lot more story to tell with Akane. Very excited for that series. It's definitely still like up there, like among that top 5. Above Witch Watch for me, I'd say.
fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, and just for the fact, going back to Komogi's betrayal and that, like, I'm just on the chapter where it's like revealed that where she actually feels herself as betrayed. Like you get that flashback to an earlier point in the series of her asking Nico, "Do you have a spell that'll let me read a person's mind?" And Nico say, "No, I don't." And then that should have been like a hint. That really should have been like us thinking like, why is she asking that question? That's so random. And I'm glad it was a thing that they remind us of. Like, oh no, that's why she asked it. So yeah, there really could. There really could have been like a couple more hints to Ayama being trained in My Hero that Koshi didn't take advantage of. But with Komogi, they took advantage of, like, they didn't make it so obvious, but they the hints were there that maybe Komogi's a traitor. But they were so enough that it still came off as a genuine surprise when it happened. And then that all led into Witch Watch's biggest arc with the Day of the Disaster, because it was a long arc to the point that the author needed to take a break, which I don't blame him after that arc, because that ended on probably the biggest game changer for the series, with Mori getting shot. Which, when I saw that, I was like, that there are very few series that have made me gasp like that. When Mori got shot, I was like, what? I don't know about you when that happened. What was your opinion on that?
I mean, that was shocking, but it was not a shock. I've seen other like gunshot panels that I think shocked me more. And I guess because of the way it was done, it kind of reminded me of that. I guess for spoilers, Eden Zero, like in one chapter, like when we were fighting Drac and Joe, like Shiki, the main character, he just gets shot straight in the head. And it's like, what do you mean the main character got shot in the head? That can't be how this goes. Like with Moy, I wasn't expecting him to, die because he was going to be fine. Because I knew there was no way they were going to, kill off like a major character like that in Witch Watch. But like the gun was still shocking, just because of the kind of series Witch Watch is. So it's not like I don't want to completely undermine its importance, because you see all these kids and their magic fights and the battles, and just like, I'm just bringing a gun. I'm a grown adult. I can just do that.
Yeah, and
at the same time, I think I've seen like one other example that made me go, yeah, but I like that one better. But it was still a big thing.
Yeah, because it was a big thing, because as well, like technically it was stated that they were protecting Nico from certain death, and technically Nico is dead at the moment, like the Nico we know, but in the sense like her powers, abilities, and what she's learned have all but vanished from her body, to the point that she can't remember the emotions that she has for Mori. Like she only sees him now as her potential father figure, which is going to make things incredibly awkward when we get her back to her full strength.
Yeah, and I have mixed feelings about like how they're going to execute that aspect, because on one hand, they could technically just pick up where they left off, which I think I would prefer, just because I'd rather, like, when we get to the last arc, or last saga, I guess I should say, last saga of the series, to be like them just being together in a relationship for a bit. I think going through the struggles of up and downs of their first relationship would be nice. But at the same time, I can justifiably understand why they wouldn't be able to do that, and instead address the elephant of like, yeah, you were kind of my dad for a while. Like he's literally like helping Nico learn to like brush her teeth and like learn school, like the way any
and
parent would do.
Said to go to elementary school as well.
Yes, their relationship is in a strange place right now when she gets back. But I'm also not sure, because I feel like this last chapter we had, where Nico temporarily turned back into an adult, she went in her adult form. She was like, oh yeah, I know that's Moy in like a weird beard. She didn't think about too much on like her child self, who just saw Santa Claus. But at the same time, that Nico didn't say anything like, oh, this is awkward. She just it's as if she didn't even know what was happening. Like she lost her memories of her childhood. So there's a couple ways they could go about it. I mean, they could also just have like Nico, because like with the Jura resurrection, for example, I'm not entirely sure how that works. Like, I'm not sure if she's going to reincarnate into Nico, where Nico is like the final boss, so to speak, like the way JJK is doing Sukuna right now. Where like the main bad guy just reincarnates into like one of the primary characters, and it's just like, oh shit, we need to not like kill him, but also kill him.
Okay. Well, there's two candidates that they can go with that. It can either be Nico or Nemu.
Yeah, I mean that could be. I mean, have you read Harry Potter, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason I bring up Harry Potter like real quick is because I remember in that series, like one of the like not super talked about but semi-important plot points of the series is that Neville Longbottom was like also like a candidate for like chosen one
Yeah,
alongside Harry.
because Neville was born at the end of July as well.
Yeah, so and Percy Jackson did something similar where there was like other candidates for the chosen one when Talia came in. But so in that sense, they could do a similar situation where even though Nico's the Witch of 1,000 Years, Nemu or 1,000 Spells, whatever it's called, Nemu could be like a substitute, and that would
Yeah,
still be very
because
bad.
it's not like Nemu is like a weak witch. She's really not. Her family is very prestigious, so it's very possible that that it could go down that route as well. But it's quite interesting that you brought up Neville then, because a lot of people have said that I look like Neville Longbottom's actor in the Harry Potter films.
I feel like you told me that before. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
probably.
I don't I've seen rewatched like a little bit of it. I don't see it as much. Like maybe maybe that's because also Neville was a kid in most of them. You're obviously not a
Yeah,
child. So
yeah, fair enough.
maybe
But
I should look at his actor, how he looks now. Then maybe
yeah,
I could see it.
but yeah, so it could go either way with Nemu, or maybe it could be I don't know, Nemu's. But then I'm like, no, I don't really want that to be like. I was gonna say Nemu's mum being the reincarnation.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, we wouldn't care I mean, Nemu would care, so we would care a little bit. But like you're right, Nemu, because she's like a character that we've been developing and she's been getting stronger over time. Like, what if? Because like, here's the thing: Shinohara loves to do twists that we could have seen coming, like buried in. Sometimes we can't really see it because, like, one time they talked about like rain and one of the prophecies, and then the rain it turned out to be like also the Japanese word for rain is also candy, and then so the candy was what was actually part of the prophecy. Uh, but in this case, like if Nemu, like what if she can just say, learn to turn into 1,000 animals or some sting? Then, well, we have another witch of 1,000, don't we?
yeah, because Nemu, it could be revealed that Nemu is the witch of 1,000 animals, like you said. That's a possibility.
Yeah,
Um,
and it could be one of those situations where, man, what's that series called? I'm gonna hate myself. There
yeah,
was this
and
one series called
what
Tokyo, not Tokyo Revengers, Tokyo
Ghoul?
Ravens. I want to say Tokyo Ravens. I might be wrong, or maybe actually, yeah, I think it's Tokyo Ravens, where they had a protagonist. Like he was supposed to be the special chosen one who is at risk of being danger from like a monster or villain or something. But it turns out it was not him who was like in danger. It was instead like one of his childhood friends, and kind of like one of those like they hid their lineage sort of things as like a double protection. So in this case, it's almost like all the warlocks are targeting Nico when in a weird by targeting Nico, they aren't going after their actual target.
Yeah, which should be Nemu. But I just wanna comment on for Boyle's comment here. I can already see Akane Banashi, the perfect replacement for Witch Watch, and it gets moved to Jump Plus, lol, and Kill Blue stays as well, lol again. Uh, well, that's the thing. I know you're joking, for Boyle, but Witch Watch, because the author can basically do what he wants. I don't think he's going to be moving to Jump Plus. He could be like, I'm not really feeling this week, so I'll just make a random chapter where it's just Nico in the house just running around.
Yeah, they could just do that. And in a weird way, that's nice.
Yeah,
Because the author does. I mean, if he wants to take a break, he can take a break. He's been doing
yeah.
it for years. But if he just wants to be like, I don't feel like doing plot today, he doesn't have to do plot.
No, he does have to
He
do
could just
plot.
do an Udon Mirage thing, which I
Yeah,
guess I'll just this as a
yeah.
segue is like one of my favorite subplots of
Oh
all
my
the
god,
manga.
that is one of my favorite subplots, and I'll just address like the author, the relationship between the student and teacher. Like again, I feel like that is more in retrospective, growing, being grown up now, and actually meeting some of my old teachers and just being like, hey, how are you? Yeah, I'm good. How have you been doing? How have you been doing with life? Like, because when you're in like school, it's like kind of it can be kind of like awkward to talk to your teacher, like your buddy outside of the classroom. But now that you're adult, you're like, yeah, we don't care about that. We can do it because we're grown ups now. And I feel like that's kind of being represented here, because you've got like the teacher who is like one of those stern, like ironclad ones, but like really is like really super otaku. And I love her introduction when they're in the classroom for the first time, and Mori just has the gown hair, and she's just like, when did Go Freaks join my classroom?
Yeah, I did really love those references because I mean, like Roboco does references all the time too, but I feel like Roboco's jokes are even more niche. Like for example, right now they have their own subplots for their characters, which I also really enjoy. Like I think Roboco does a good job
Because
giving their characters.
Isn't Roboco herself like a manga artist in the series at the moment?
Yeah, and she draws like draw manga of the other characters, but like really badly. But yeah, in that series, like one of the characters, the main love interest, she is a shogi master, and they have a whole shogi subplot that they're kind of like digging back into right now. And it's like, okay, but like all these jokes like would really only make sense if you really understood shogi, and I don't understand most of it, but I just like the characters enough and their character stories that I still keep reading. It's very enjoyable for that reason alone. But with Witch Watch, I think because there is a more like weight to the thing, because like Roboco is like that kind of gag character, like Dr. Slump, for those who've read like Ariel from that series, where she could technically fix any problem she wants to because she's just that powerful, and it's a gag series, so the characters are as strong as they need to be for any given situation. But like here, like the characters are very vulnerable and have been through life perilous situations that actually mattered. So yeah, I think in that sense, I think Witch Watch does a much better balance of gags. But I will say, like compared to like his previous work, Astra, I don't think the balance is quite as good. So as much as I like Witch Watch, I do hope once either once Shinohara is done, or if he has like the spare time and he wants to try to do a Mashima and do like another series while he's doing this one, he would do another like short series, because I think that's where his like true potential lies for, in my opinion.
Okay, fair enough. And yeah, it's nice to have those like long-standing series, but sometimes it's just nice to have short series, but not too short. Looking at you, Jump Plus, because we talked about that before, about how there are way too many short series.
Yeah, did we actually do that video though? Like
I
the
think
Jump versus.
Yeah, because we did like the problem with Jump Plus, where we were talking
Okay,
about.
we did.
Yeah, we did do that one. But yeah, going back to Witch Watch and just talking about the manga show, like I've really loved their side plot of just being like, we're a student teacher, but when we're out of the classroom, we are basically partners now, writing our own dojushi. I can never
their
pronounce.
own manga. Let's just call
Yeah,
it that. And
the
Jojinshi is the word, but don't worry about it.
Dojinshi, that was the word I was looking for. Yeah. And I get the feeling that their story is going to conclude with them actually getting published in a proper magazine. And I could actually see like it being like, and I've said this before when we've talked about with Witch Watch briefly on other videos, that their manga would be pretty much like a retelling of the Witch Watch manga.
Yeah, and I mean, normally I'm not a huge fan of that. Undead Unluck had a subplot where they have one of the characters basically have a manga of the characters' lives, and they used it to help predict future events. I was actually talking to one of my friends who's anime only with Undead Unluck, and I didn't spoil it for him, obviously, but I told him it's like, the next subplot I'm not a huge fan of, so good luck with that. But with Witch Watch, I think it'll be a good potential tail end. And that is one way the series could end. And I did want to, we guess we could talk about that. But I also want to say with Udon Mirage, when I first read it, I just felt like, okay, is this man just trying to pitch his next manga inside his current manga?
I
That's
think
kind of genius.
Honestly, I think he is, because for anyone who's made it this far into the video, Udara Mod is basically the manga within the manga, where it is just like the most random of random things, to the point that the mangaka, who is later revealed to be a female, basically just does the random thing based off what people actually say, what's happening in the series, and there are literally chapters of Witch Watch that will literally be chapters of that manga. So it's like, I think the first chapter that did that, it was called chapter 73 or something like that.
Yeah, and that was like a huge surprise, but it's funny just like how that series is going.
Yeah, because
But yeah, I do like that subplot because I remember being very close to one of my high school teachers as well, and we would play Magic the Gathering after school along with some other friends of mine and other teachers. Actually, eventually other faculty joined us in, and I think that's just like a nice way to show like students and teachers kind of like bonding like after school hours in like
yeah,
hobbies they enjoy. Because that is a real thing, and I think
yeah,
it's like one of those things that really stick with you and in your formative years.
because you have people who are like the stereotypical like bully of like, oh, a teacher's pet, but then it's like when you get when you get out of high school and you're actually talking to the teachers when you're not students anymore, it's like, does that really apply now? Because of the fact that you're technically not their student anymore. But I do, but like I said, yeah, I still talk to one of my old teachers because they live like a few streets away from me, so it's very easy to just run into them and just be like, "Hey, how are you doing? How's it going?" And I do like that about the teacher in Witch Watch. How she's very cautious of the fact that she's supposed to be this like stern, uptight teacher that can she really be relaxed and just be herself? And then when they actually go and meet the people who are actually formed the fan club, and she's wondering like what are they going to be like in her mind, but it turns out that they're just as wacky and crazy and somewhat weird as she is as well, and she learns to like, hey, I found people who I can actually be myself around, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah, and I think it also speaks to like some of the struggles of making adult friendships, and then finding one through like common hobbies. I think that's one of the again one of the subplots I think Witch Watch could like expand more upon because even though it is for a younger audience, I think I would like more focus on some of the adult characters and their lives as well. And also, Blazing Boy, I don't think I read your FMA comment. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure exactly what you're asking in this one because you're talking about like female villains, but I'm not sure if you're asking like where other great
Would
female villains are, or like if how
Uh
that connects
oh,
to Witch Watch.
I think what he's trying to say is that while I was reading FMA today, I wondered, was there other big female villains before? Are you talking about the villains in FMA, or just villains before FMA was created? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, because I mean, I think some other members of the cast will be doing some more classic anime and manga. And maybe they'll talk about it there. I myself, like FMA was like one of the like, I don't want to say the first because there were some few before then, actually like Surgeon Frog, but there weren't too many manga I read like before that period of time because I was just too young and I haven't really dug into like older series before that, so I can't really answer that one.
No, no other villains in
Okay,
different.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
okay, yeah.
That's a little beyond my personal knowledge scope.
Uh,
Unfortunately, I still have like too many current mangas to read
I
for the old
I'm
ones,
trying to think. When did FMA come out? Let me
like early 2000s. I want to say.
let me look that up.
Okay.
FMA manga. Um, but yeah, there was another character that I really wanted to talk about. Of the 2001 was FMA. So just try to think off the top of my. If I was going to say for big female villains, I think the only one that really comes to mind for me, but it's part of a trio, is Jessie from Team Rocket. That's one of the big ones. But then you also have like the villain. Oh, no, there was one. Queen Beryl from Sailor Moon was before FMA. So yeah, there were.
Okay. I'm
fe-
not too familiar with Sailor Moon. I still have to
Yeah,
get into that series.
yeah,
But
but
yeah,
that
okay, there you go.
yeah, there's Queen Beryl from Sailor Moon, who was like the first antagonist of Sailor Moon.
And I
So
mean,
they,
JoJo's had some female. antagonists, but they were also more minor. Because I know you're asking about like major ones, so I can't really answer that one too well. So sorry about that one, Blazing Boy. But
but
yeah,
yeah,
anyway, uh,
going back to what I was saying, there was one character that I really wanted to talk about because of the fact that she technically gained a magic ability. Kara, like the when she's working at the shrine, and then she makes her familiar out of paper. I
yeah, I
yeah,
did. I think that name's Shiki. I'm
yeah,
not sure.
Shiki. Yeah, it is Shiki. I'm on the chapter right now, but
Yeah,
I just love that because of the fact when I first read that chapter, and it got to the part where he's drowning to save the pin that she got from her. I think it's her late mother. Yeah. I think her mother's dead, so it's the pin that she got from her mother, and he was drowning and. She was crying out. I can't believe the author made me care about a piece of paper.
yeah, yeah. That is a good point. I kind of
Yeah,
forgot about Shiki, but glad you brought him up.
yeah, it's like you know when a series is good when the author can make you care just of a piece of paper, which I'm surprised they haven't done more in the series now that I think about it. Because Shiki can change size, so you figure he would be doing more in the series.
Yeah, I thought Nico's friends would have more involvement in like the fights, like much like how in another series that you and I both have read, Ayakashi Triangle, where Suzu's friends like they eventually got more involved in the supernatural shenanigans. So I thought it would be in a similar situation, but not really. Like even
No,
Kara like hasn't been doing much recently. But I
no,
think she is aware of Child Nico. I think that happens
yeah,
in an early chapter,
yeah,
but she hasn't done much after that.
she is aware. Um, and another one of my favorite gag chapters in the series is, which I'm surprised this did not come out around Halloween. Jig Jag. Do you remember?
Oh God, yeah, I remember.
You remember
That
Jig
one
Jag?
was awesome because again,
Yes.
it fed into like Nico's or not Nico's, Kago's like, oh, I
It,
need to like get good at game design.
yeah. So he well, Nico was the one who was kind of up for it. So she pretended to be kidnapped by this which was it was so obviously a parody of Jigsaw, like because of the fact let's play a game together. We're in a death game, and Kago's got like a Jigsaw style mask on him, and I'm surprised they did not do the Jigsaw puppet laughter. Kind of thing,
Yeah,
and
but yeah, that was a good
just
one.
mentioned Jigsaw. But what I loved most about it was him just explaining the rules, and then them just being them just being like he's babbling on forever. And then they're just there like testing out the game and being so pissed off about him because the game actually sucks because the rules make no sense whatsoever. And
Yeah,
then when they're trying to recreate the rules, they're like, "You're just changing everything about the game now." Because it honestly reminded me so much of this parody video that somebody did on the Saw films where the Jigsaw character it was still the Jigsaw puppet, but it was like a really nice version of the puppet, and he was like, "We're gonna play you 20 minutes of the Disney Channel," and the guy as he's watching the Disney Channel is getting like really messed up, and Jigsaw's there just saying like, "What's going on here?" And he's just like, "What are you doing to me?" It's like, "I'm not doing anything to you." It just reminded me so much of that. which is what made it even more hilarious for me.
yeah, that was a really good one. I think
Yeah.
one of my favorite gag chapters was like when Khan tried like the super speed spell,
Yes, I
and
had
then
that.
he experienced like everything in like just super slow motion. And I do like that because it's one of those things where like I like to think about, it's like, okay, if you actually had like these certain powers and abilities, like what would that realistically look like? And honestly, like some powers, like being super fast would be kind of terrifying if you couldn't like really control it, because that would be like your life. Everything else would be way too slow for you. You would be very much alone in a larger sense. I
Yeah.
think one of my lesser favorite gags though with Khan was like there was one where he kept saying something about like Wednesday. It was like a spell that made him kept
Oh
doing like a
yeah,
certain
because he
gag.
was trying. He was trying to do a joke, and the punchline was Wednesday, and nobody got it.
Yeah, and they kind of just like drilled that into the ground. Like, yeah, so even Witch Watch has like chapters that even I'm not a huge fan of.
Yeah,
So
I wasn't really a big fan of. And to be honest, I wasn't really at first a fan of the Miura, Jekyll and Fran dynamic at first, but it's slowly grown on me. Particularly in the last couple of chapters where we've actually met Fran properly for the first time. And it turns out that her robot form is an exact duplicate of her, but the only difference is that her voice is childishly pixie voice. So I don't know what that would sound like. Would it sound something like this?
yeah, probably.
Yeah, but I do like
It doesn't really come across as well in manga form, I think.
yeah, but I do like that even though she has that voice and Mio and Jekyll just like, we're your friends, we don't care. You're cute enough as it is. And I feel like this will be more about Fran starting to come out of her shell more and maybe start going back to school and not using the robot anymore.
I mean, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, but one thing, and there was also one of my other favorite gag ones. Oh yeah, it was the one where they're teaching English. But I, as someone who's as English as the first language, I did like that because of the fact that I just found it so funny that the person that's trying to learn how to speak English, they have a different art style than everyone else, and everyone's just like, what happened to the art style?
Yeah, and that again is based on those books for children that have like those very simplistic designs. So that's kind of what the art style. I also do like how Shinohara does like to change up his art style to go with certain gags. Like the Minecraft chapter had like a Minecraft styling to it, and then there was like one where he parodied like gag manga, and they borrowed some gag artist styles for that one. I think it just helps shows like actual skill as an artist, like with this versatility.
Yeah, and then it turns out the solution was that Nemu had a friend in her school that was the exact same person. So yeah,
Yeah, I don't think I remember that joke, but okay, I guess that was
yeah,
a
yeah,
punchline.
yeah. Because I'm on it now. There was like someone in Nemu's private school that was in that same art style.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
okay.
Uh, but I guess yeah, I really. Oh, there was one other thing. I just wanted to go back to talking about the student council quickly because,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, because we didn't get into the fact that there's like a Western style and Eastern style lolly that have the opposite personalities, the kudere and the tsundere. You have basically someone who's an hacker, a genius Shota hacker, and you literally have a psychotic Fisher's knife licker whose name is Psycho.
Yeah, he is
I
also great.
yeah, I just love that, like that.
And
In the
I do
face
think it's
meaning.
because it's a good thing to point out that it's like, another series, there's just like these random people who are just licking knives and guns, and it's just like no one's questioning this.
No, no. But then you have like the giant muscle head wild man, and a literal robot, in the series. Which, hey, Fran, there's your ship right there. Get Fran and this robot together.
Okay, well, that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But yeah, if that was the last gag, do you want to like just talk about like the series ending?
Uh, yeah. But there was one character that I feel like we haven't brought up yet, which we really should have done. Ban the Dragon Lady,
Oh
because
yeah, yeah. I guess we
I
haven't. Yeah.
I was so annoyed. You brought this up. You legitimately brought this up to me. It's like they're not even trying to hide the fact that Luke desperately wants them to be in the house, because when they were like getting ideas for the familiar, they brought up like a black cat, and I'm just like, you have a black cat there. Just make them your familiar.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they didn't know that at the time, but still, it was
No,
funny.
it was
Oh
funny, like
man,
because
and yeah, Ben is like another fun addition to the cast because, like, I mean, one of the reasons we wanted Nemu in the house for so long is just because Nico really didn't have any other like girls like she lives with. It's just a bunch of guys. It's basically like a reverse harem, but it's not really a harem at all. And in this case, like another girl would be kind of like add something interesting to the dynamic. So they just had it Bonnie instead.
Yeah, they've literally said time and time again, like, if Nemu was in the house, if Nemu was like, I'm just there, like, just please put her in the house already.
Yeah, again, though, she has a place to live, so it probably would have to be some kind of like conflict with her mom that gets her there, like you said.
Yeah.
So when we get into that, we'll get into that. But yeah, Bonnie is like I guess a fun character. It feels a little random, but it is kind of nice to have like a dragon character, and I'm always up for like more attractive female characters.
You know what they're gonna do now? They're gonna do a Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Mage parody.
I feel like they should, yeah.
Yeah, because that's basically what Ban is. She's basically just Toru from Miss Kobayashi, but like I would say she's like a combination of Toru and Lucra from Miss Kobayashi. Like she's meant to be a familiar, but she's like the most laziest of laziest people ever.
Yep.
Yeah, and
yeah. I can't wait to see when she actually gets into a fight. No, it'll be fun to have a dragon on her side in a fight.
Yeah, and I am also waiting, praying that the author does this. He has a character who's basically a Seto Kaiba ripoff from Yu-Gi-Oh! Just come in and be like, a dragon. Is it a Yu-Gi-Oh? Is it a trading card?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm a little less interested in the Yu-Gi-Oh parody just because another manga we didn't read did like so many Yu-Gi-Oh parodies, like Shogomaru, I believe the name was.
Yeah.
So that one did Yu-Gi-Oh references to death. So I'm just like, you know what, it's fine. I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh's great, and I enjoy like Yu-Gi-Oh, but maybe it's overdone a little.
Maybe, but it's just like as soon as Ban was introduced, I was just like, this is Seto Kaiba's waifu right here.
I mean, quite literally, he did marry a dragon in the past.
Yeah, a dragon lady. Wait, the emphasis is on the lady and not the dragon.
Man. Yeah, but was that the last thing you want to talk about?
Yeah, and so now I feel like we can basically discuss where we think the series is actually gonna head into now, because we've still got about 950 spells to catch, which I feel like even though we've got like 1,000 spells that they've got to get back for Nico, we're not going to be like spending like 1,000 chapters going after each and every single one. That would be insane.
Yeah, I think what they're going to do is at some point, some other character is going to be gathering them as well, possibly the Warlocks. And they will have like a bunch of collections, and then Nico and our team will just be like, okay, we need to go after these guys and get all these spells back, and then Nico will be mostly, if not fully, all the way back.
I've just realized something. I've legitimately just realized something. What if, like you said, it's the Warlocks that are gathering all the spells, but they use it to revive Juru?
Yeah, I still don't understand how the resurrection works, but yeah, you're right. They could do that. I just don't know how it works.
Because it isn't the whole idea that they need Nico to revive Juru.
Yeah. She's
so
the Witch of 1,000.
Yeah. So what if it's not actually Nico herself that they need? They just need the 1,000 spells to revive her.
Could be. And even then, how many of those 1,000 do they actually need is a good question. So
Yeah,
yeah, I could see that
and
definitely
I,
being a
and I
thing.
feel and I feel like they'll get Nico again, and that will be the plan. And so Nico will be stuck because I don't see his. I know you kind of want this, but now the more I'm thinking about it, the more this would kind of make sense for the series is if Nico for the rest of the series remains as the little kid and we don't get her back until the end of the series, and they use the 1,000 spells that they gather from Nico to revive Juru.
I mean, they could. That would be an interesting way to go about it because
Because
here's the reason I think I have some trouble seeing that is just because they should still need a way to bring Nico back, and if they don't get it by the spells, then the only other way is just to wait for Nico to age up, in real time. And if they do that, then the relationship between her and Moy would be even more weird because he would
yeah,
have to like raise her all the way up to that point. It'd be a very melodramatic ending, but I don't see it. I feel like they need to like have her at least close to her age. So I don't know about that. So I think
yeah,
they do want them together at the end.
yeah, obviously don't want them together at the end. I'm just thinking like it would be more interesting to see like how they get out of the situation if Nico does not have her magic, or maybe it's like Nemu might still play an important part because Nemu is going to play an important part regardless.
Right, but if they don't have her spells, they're gonna need a different way to like keep her aged up. And the only other thing we have is that potion that does it temporarily.
Yeah,
So if the only way I could see it is if they bring up another solution to Nico being brought up like almost immediately back to her age, because if they don't, then the age gap between Moy and Nico would be very big and
ooh,
almost problematic for them to be together in a sense.
unless Nico I don't see him going down this route, but it could work. Theoretically, if Nico gets warlock powers.
Yeah, Nico becoming a warlock is actually something I have thought about because they in Komogi, for example, she brought up the fact that like it's weirdly stupidly easy to become a warlock because all you got to do is like use your magic selfishly like maybe once, and then you'll just like be doomed for life, which I do think that means they'll find a way to like reverse it. So I have thought of the theory that either Nico and or Nemu could end up becoming like a warlock because they had to use their magic in like a very bad way, and
Yeah,
then they need to find a way to undo that and
but
then possibly save the other warlocks, and that's how they would end the war.
yeah, but it might result in, like you said, Nico becoming maybe the final antagonist.
Yeah, and that is definitely a way they could go. But one other theory I wanted to bring up with the ending, that because I was thinking about this because we were going to have this discussion today, is one chapter that we didn't really talk about is there was a chapter where the skeet dance characters came back and were part of the story, and they one of them was a teacher and the other was like just helping them out with the crisis at school because that's what the skeet dance characters do. And so that kind of proves that Skeet Dance and Witch Watch are in the same universe, right? Which suggests that maybe Shinohara's other work, Astra Lost in Space, could also be. But the thing is, Astra Lost in Space takes place in the far future because there's like space travel and stuff. So the ending of Witch Watch could also potentially lead to Astra Lost in Space. But if it does do that, it kind of needs to go in a very dark direction at the end. Um, a bit spoilers, but things get like very messed up on Earth, like when in the future before things get back to normal and peaceful as it is in Astra right now. So like there's a chance that like a lot of the wars and stuff they talked about in Astra could have potentially be caused by the events of Witch Watch, which I think would be a very interesting way to have near at the very end. Just
Ye-
um,
Yeah, that would be interesting.
because I don't remember the exact timeline, but I think it is sometime in the near future where everything goes bad, and if they take place in the same world, they could. And even if they don't do that, the other thing they could do is just use some sci-fi nonsense to bring the Astra Lost in Space characters back in time to meet the Witch Watch character.
Yeah, I was
I'd be
thinking.
fine with that.
Yeah, I was thinking that they just bring the astronauts in space characters back through time, and
They could just go into a wormhole or some
oh,
nonsense.
I just want if that happens, I seriously want Senku to just be there being like, so you did a time machine before me.
Senku.
Yeah. So yeah. My only other thing that I wanna speculate is, do you think we're at the halfway point for the series, or just a little under halfway?
Good question. Because we are like 3 years in, I think, like you said, I think there is like at least one other saga after the Butterfly Saga, let's call it.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
that'll probably
got
be the war with
it's
the Warlocks.
well,
But it could.
I was just going to say it's already got a name for this part: the Adventures of the Small Witch.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Adventures of the Small Witch. Then, for that saga, I mean, I think that almost also means that Nico has to be back to adulthood by the end.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
either way, or not adulthood, whatever, 16. I don't care.
yeah,
Anyway, so for when the end of this saga, like the next one is probably going to be the war with the Warlocks, or it's going to be if let's say one of the characters does turn into a warlock like we were suggesting, then there could be a whole other saga about like restoring them to normal.
yeah. And then I feel
So
like
in that sense we could be a little under halfway, because they could just have like a whole other saga. It's
yeah,
hard to
'cause
predict with Witch Watch.
yeah, it's hard to predict, but I think my theory going on now is that we're gonna have at least I would say just under the same amount of chapters for this as we had with the Day of the Disaster Saga. And then maybe have the war between the warlocks and the witches, which ultimately results in the revival of Juru, and then the final saga would be like the taking down of Juru.
Yeah, I mean that would work unless there's like another twist we're not seeing, because we didn't expect the Nico to turn into a kid. So
Yeah,
that's the other thing I'm thinking. Like I feel like there'll be like at least like one other big crisis we got to fix either before or after the war with the Warlocks, before like the final thing.
yeah, because I did like that alternate take on it, because of the fact that technically Nico did die, but she wasn't dead. It was kind of the same thing that happened in Dot 2, where they were saying like Donna was gonna die, and yeah, she technically did die, but wasn't like dead.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really all, and I mean we're nearing the 2 hour mark, so I think this will be like a good way to start wrapping up this video. So do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't know if anyone stuck this long around, but if you have, I'm assuming you read Witch Watch, because we spoiled so much for you. But even if we did spoil it, I think it's worth reading, because there's a lot of chapters and subplots we didn't talk about.
Yeah, because
I think even if you know like the big story beats, like reading for those gags matter, and giving a little bit advice that Shonen Oji gave in his video for Gintama. I think Witch Watch is one of those series that is good to like read at your own pace, because while you could binge like 3 years worth of content, it's also like a lot to take in. So I would say space it out as you're comfortable with. I think you'll have a better reading experience. I think weekly it still works very fine. So if you are caught up to date, I think you would agree that it's fine to read like week to week once you're caught up. So if you do want to catch all the way up, you can. And the last thing is, if you are reading Witch Watch and you're enjoying it up to this point, consider reading some of Shinohara's other works like Astra or Skeet Dance. I still have to read Skeet Dance myself, but it's basically all similar stylings, but with different flavors. So you know what you're getting with each series. And I think because of that, it's enjoyable. The only thing is, I hope, unlike Skeet Dance, because we learned in Witch Watch that the main two leads didn't end up together, that in Witch Watch they do end up together by the end.
Yeah, and I feel like that's something I'm hoping for as well. But my final thoughts will be that Yeah, Witch Watch is underrated, but it does deserve more love and attention because it is, like we said, one of the more consistent series out there. Even the bad chapters or the ones we are not really fond of, they're still enjoyable to read because, like we said, Witch Watch is a series that you don't know what you don't know what you're getting from week to week, but what you can honestly expect most of the time is to just simply enjoy the characters because the characters do make this series and make it and make the world come to life. So yeah, go and read it, enjoy it, and hopefully in the near future we'll not only get the physical releases but also an anime adaptation because I feel like a lot of these gags will work better when we get an anime adaptation if we ever get it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because I was actually thinking about that. One thing we didn't say, which I guess we could use to wrap up this,
Yeah.
is like who do you want to like adapt this series?
You know what? I think I honestly think let me find out what studio it was because I do have a studio in mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
While you're doing that, I think this is like Witch Watch is not one of those series where I think we needed like someone like Mappa or Wit Studios to do. Even though I really like Wit, and if they did it, I wouldn't be mad at all. But I don't think this is a series that requires as much animation. What it really needs, as you can probably tell from like the cover page that Luke has on screen right now, is colors. I think Witch Watch like works best when it's very brightly and well colored because the color pages like really show off that.
uh,
And
um,
so, oh yeah,
I'm
you
just
have it. Go ahead.
yeah. Well, there were two studios that I had in mind, but I'm just trying. What's the name of the magical series that's in Jump Plus at the moment?
Magic. Besides Witch Watch?
The one in Jump Plus. That
Wait. You mean Maggie Lumiere?
Maggie Lumiere. That's I'm trying to spell it. Maggie Lumiere. Um, Anime Jump Plus. Because I'm trying to find out the studio for that series.
Okay.
Jump Plus.
I could probably find that pretty quickly.
Yeah. Let's.
Ooh, I forgot the Maggie
Here
Lumiere.
we go. Here we go. I've got
You
it.
found it.
So JC Staff, I could, which is the same studio that has done like Food Wars and Toradora, and it's done the Familiar of Seal, which is a witch style series, but and but the other studio I was thinking of would be bit by Berry Animation Studios, which has just done 100 Girlfriends.
Yeah, actually, I think those are both like really good options because I think they do really good with like a lot of like these colorful series. Another one I had in mind, just because I think they've been more recently in the news because of their big series like Don to Don coming up, is Science and Zaru. I think they would do really good at like goofy series like Witch Watch because they're doing Don to Don. And I also think like if we have to go with the more traditional studios, I think even like TMS would work because they're very good at like making adaptations of like series that aren't necessarily action heavy. I mean, Witch Watch has some action, but they're very good like at delivering the comedies and little jokes that Dr. Stone has. And they've also done Fruits Basket, which is another series that I think has like a similar like slice of life mixed with like a dramatic story in the background. So
Yeah, I could definitely see that. But there was also one other one that another one based on what series they've actually got at the moment, coming out in April, and that would be Silverlink because they've got Yozakura. So depending on how well they adapt Yozakura, I could be very optimistic about them doing Witch Watch.
Yep, I could see it because like Silverlink, I do like. I don't like them as much as some other studios that we mentioned, but they are a solid studio, I think, for something like Yozakura. I think the only other one that came to mind was Yostar, who's doing Ranger Reject, as well as they did a bunch of gotcha games
Okay.
into anime form. And again, I think they do a very good establishing atmosphere specifically because they've done like really dark stuff, like Arknights, and showing how gritty and dark that series is compared to like more lighter series like Blue Archive. They're coming out with an anime in April for Blue Archive, which is like a mix of like super happy, lighthearted stuff and like a super dark story underneath. So I think they're another studio that works. And plus, I also think having some of these smaller studios like doing more works will hopefully get people's attention off of like the really big things like David Productions and
Yeah,
A1
yeah. Because I feel like for the more
and
popular
Trigger.
series, it should be the biggest studios. But for like the ones that aren't really as popular but still have a dedicated fan base, it should be what more of the lesser studios to kind of like that are good but don't really get the chance to have the spotlight.
Yeah, because I think if they those bigger studios, like they already are, very well namesake. Like everyone knows who Madhouse is. But if a smaller studio like takes like some of these series and like makes something really good, like the way Science and Zara did with like Scott Pilgrim, for example, they can make a name for themselves in a very unique way because they elevated not only themselves but a whole series based on their work. And I
Yeah.
think that means a lot more than simply riding off the coattails of like a big series.
Okay, yeah, and I'm just going to wrap up with since we are talking about a gag series, I'm going to talk about a gag right now. I'm sorry to do this to you, Party Jams. Ranger Reject? I'm sorry, but do you mean Go Go Loser Ranger?
I can't believe we're ending on that note. Oh my god.
I'm sorry. It was just the one thing that came to mind. I was like saying to myself, I'm not going to say it, but oh, okay, I'm just going to end on it. But yeah,
And for
so
those who don't know, Ranger Reject, probably one of the best ongoing manga like right now. Like if
yeah,
I had to actually put up a top one, it would likely it's like a candidate for number one.
yeah.
Honestly.
So yeah, go and listen to Vex and Pyjam's video on Ranger Reject. And with
Hopefully
that,
more someday
yeah,
because like it's getting really good.
yeah, and with that, peace.